flag?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And the roll call?
Trustee Burdall?
She's out sick today.
Thank you. Trustee Villalobos?
Here.
Trustee Evans?
Here.
Trustee Gould?
Here.
Trustee Chiapari?
Here.
Thank you.
The district digitally records the audio portion of the meetings. The recorder is located in the front of the board scribe. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during the time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. As a community service, Pacifica Community Television, PCT, records and broadcasts meetings. The board met in closed session regarding public employee performance evaluation GC 54957, superintendent. No action was taken. And the approval of the minutes, Heather?
It's recommended that the board approve the minutes of the March 6th regular board meeting.
Do we have a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Board passes 4-0. Thank you.
Approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed in regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda.
I'd like to request that item 8K, December 2018 manual maintenance 6000 series be pulled.
Okay. Anything else? No. And communications. This
We
portion
need
of
to have a
the
motion going.
oh,
Right? We have to
Yes.
vote on that.
sorry.
So I move to, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the item 8K.
You have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Board passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Sure.
And so that's where we would talk about the 6,000 series.
So I asked to remove this because at the last meeting when we were reviewing, I don't know if you remember, I pulled it for your benefit, Andrea, because you had a question about education of children of military families at the time, and we couldn't find the, we couldn't find this to find out what your question was.
I can't remember.
We can, I mean, what we could do is pull that and go back and look at the tape.
Okay.
So just put it on next month?
So we'll just table it for next
Okay.
month. That's okay. But do we need to vote to do that? Or that just is a deferral?
Well, I'll motion to bring this back next month for final review or
After finding the question.
after finding out what the question was.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Board passes 4-0. Thank you.
All right, communications. This portion of the agenda is available to the public to address the board on any issue that is not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is 3 minutes. LSEA? CSEA?
Nothing at this time.
People wishing to address the board? Correspondence? Board Superintendent Communications,
Would you like me to start?
please.
Okay. Last month, I attended CPAC, Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee. We had a great presentation by Betsy Belkin from over at Ortega on executive functioning. Good parent discussion and a lot of discussion about what we're going to do in the future to increase the parent participation. One thing that I would like to see is more outreach to general ed parents, because something like executive functioning really can benefit all students. And so it's going to be one of Maria's summer homeworks, and I'll be around if we can sort of strategize on how to increase the participation. I attended the Pacifica Youth and Family Summit at IBL, and it was great. Mary Beer and they did a great job as usual. Had a very interesting presentation I sat in on e-cigarettes and vaping. Seemed to be well attended, and then I of course texted all of my adult children about what I found out. I also just wanted to highlight, in case people hadn't heard, that our Secretary of Education has proposed a cut to funding, which would include special ed grants, Special Olympics, cuts to Technical Institute for the Blind. She is really targeting some of our most impacted students. Personally find it really quite disgusting. And the Trump administration in general seems to be looking at cutting at least 12%, at least what I was reading today, from the Education Department budget. And this should worry every single person, because I don't think any of us really want an uneducated society. We've seen what can happen already. So please be aware of that and follow it, and write your legislators and get active. The last thing, today I listened to a webinar put out by CSBA on technology to enhance school-based safety and social emotional learning. It was very interesting. It did sort of, to me, seem to be really just highlighting this one company that is putting out this app. But a lot of information talking about children feeling unsafe at school. According to this Pew Research study, they said that 57% of students between 13 and 17 years old worry about school violence. And over they were stressing that if our children don't feel safe, they are not going to learn. And so again and again, as I was listening, I was feeling very proud of how our school district is making a real effort at the social emotional learning and trying to make our children feel safe and have input on how they're feeling at school. They did repeatedly talk about the importance of building the social emotional learning and the compliance, and especially the restorative practices, which again, I think we really need to focus making the kids feel a part and not just penalized, and understanding why their behavior maybe at times they're getting into conflicts. Bridget was the curriculum that was being highlighted. And again, it's app-based. And again, they talked a lot about how the cyber world has created this culture of bullying and harassment. And they had said even through Google Documents, which I thought was interesting, you know, how the kids can comment on each other's documents, and I guess sometimes it can go wrong. So I know as an adult, you know, you get on a few of our local forums, and you see a lot of abuse happening. So it's really impacting our kids. So again, I just applaud our district's efforts at making sure that we're addressing these bullying behaviors. The last thing I wanted to say is one thing they said at the end, specifically about this curriculum, is they said they found that putting out information, even if it was the school climate surveys, making sure to call it confidential data instead of anonymous data, because anonymous kind of lends itself to, again, going the wrong way. You can anonymously say, oh, they're bullying, whereas if you say it's confidential, it sort of imparts this other level of you're just not anonymously saying Joe Blow is, going around bullying kids. It just sort of presents it in a different venue. So that was mine.
Thank you. So I attended with three of us attended the San Mateo County SBA meeting on workforce housing. And it was very interesting, very informative. We talked in our group about what people were doing with workforce housing in the area. And then we did hear from some pretty key players about financing and stuff, so that was very helpful to feed our discussions about the workforce housing that we're still trudging through here, trying to figure it all out. We had a facilities master plan meeting, and I think are we at the end of those?
We are at the end of that. We're going to have a board work study on April 10th to give that information to all of you, and then the timing and approval of that, we just have to figure out with the workforce housing piece on that. We don't want to close any of our doors until we're quite clear on which direction we're going.
And so that has been a very good good set of meetings where we've gotten a lot of community input and schools input and so it's a well-informed plan. And then this Saturday, I went to something called Rock the School Bells. So this is at Skyline College, and they do this once a year. And it is for middle school students and high school students to go to a college campus to kind of see what's going on. And I went there for a Kent visit. And so they had 400 kids, over 400 kids there on Saturday. And they talk to those kids. They bring people in that are alumni, that are Skyline alumni. And the people that they bring in are people who have developed talents in music industry and art and such to kind of like bring the kids in. We got a higher education, and this is what we're doing now. And most of the people that were presenting were young and lively and everything, so the kids liked it, and they got people up dancing and stuff. And then they did workshops on rap, like when one guy was teaching us how to rap. I came like in third place in the rapping contest. That's not bad for a lady.
That's good.
There was one that was a DJ that was letting the kids use the equipment. And I learned how to do that pop dancing.
You gonna demonstrate?
Well, you kind of like you do this. You kind of like clench your muscles. And, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not going to be a pop dancer, but anyway, it was very engaging for the kids. It's free. They find all their own funding, and the kids were excited about it, and they get to kind of see what's going on. That they can do very soon about going to college, getting an education, and that it still is within their interest range. So I think we might want to tell our middle schools about that. So a free Saturday afternoon, that's fun for the kids.
What was it called?
Rock the School Bells.
Okay.
They do it at Skyline, and then they also do it at Kenyatta, and I'm not sure if they do it at CSM, but they have kind of branched out with it. That's it, your turn.
All right, so I want to thank my colleague for mentioning our federal Department of Education and the new budget outlook. The one thing that she didn't mention is that in addition to reducing the budget, they're redistributing the existing budget and trying to promote more or directing more money into charter schools. And that's another thing that I want everybody to sort of keep on their mind. And I'm not anti-charter school, I'm not pro-charter school, but there, I think there are some good ones, and there are definitely some bad ones. And there's not a lot of research out there that shows that they perform any better than traditional public schools, and yet they draw money away from the traditional public sector. So it might introduce some inefficiency. Keep that in your mind. It's probably not a very good direction. The other thing that I did, which is really interesting, I was actually had a meeting in New York City, but I'm doing a study there on middle school safety strategies. We're investigating a program there called Safe Public Spaces. And so I was in town, so I visited 3 New York City middle schools. And it was really, really interesting. They're all very different. Very high needs, but also they have commensurate resources to meet those needs, which is something different from what we have here in California. So really, really interesting stuff. I also went to the San Mateo County School Boards Association meeting on housing, and I thought that was really good. There's actually more going on. I thought we were sort of a little island here doing it, but there are more districts that are, I knew of some that were very involved like us, but there are others that I didn't realize were interested or thinking about taking steps. Finally, last night I went to the Poetry Cafe at Cabrillo, and it was awesome. It was great. So they had it all dark lit, and all of the kids had a poem, and they had to get up and really present themselves at the mic, and it was just them solo. And there was no jazz band behind them, but maybe we can work on that a little bit, make it really sort of beat-like. So I was, and my son did his, it was all third graders, and my son did his bit, and I was really proud. And I was just so happy that Mr. Katz was right there and pushing that and trying to push the artistic side of education, which I think is so often crowded out. So that's what I got for you.
Did you do all of this?
I want him to wear a beret, a big black turtleneck. He wouldn't have any of that.
Kids.
So I went to the workforce housing also. I was a little surprised to see how many other school districts were looking into workforce housing. We're no longer the only one. And everybody's in different stages. Some of us have land, some of us have money, some of us have nothing. And so we're just trying to build some kind of coalition so that we can all support each other. I definitely, after leaving that, feel like it's something that's needed. And also attended the Youth and Family Summit. If you haven't been there, you should really try to make it next year. I think there were more people this year than last year. So as a parent, I'll speak as a parent first. I learned more about e-cigarettes and vaping pens because, I'm going to put it out there. I'm just a normal parent, and I find these things, in my son's room. I'm like, what's this? And it looks like something that goes into a computer. And then you find out that no, that's actually, the cartridge or the charger or the vaping pen so that they can do what they're going to do with virtually no smell. We learned about popcorn lung, when they're vaping with these different flavors, and it's very dangerous, and sometimes they can even explode because they get too hot. They had a youth track, and they also had the adult track. So for the youth, they had finding balance and coping skills for life. So I also learned a little bit about the cannabis And let me see if I made any notes. Basically, there's still not a lot of proof out there on some of the different benefits or harms of THC and CBD. I won't talk much more about it because I'm not, expert in that. But then I did go to the Faces of Overdose, and you'd be surprised, I was surprised. Now, as a board member, I hope that our children are getting educated before they move on to high school on the different trends in drugs that are happening. Right now, you won't want to hear it, but heroin is very big in Pacifica, which I did not know. It totally floored me. And so one parent was talking about her son. He was just, your average high schooler, or he actually just graduated. And he belonged to a group of, skateboard community friends, and he was just at a party and thought he was taking Xanax, and it was laced with fentanyl. And so I know you can't see it, but this yellow line is how it's increased over the last 4 years, the overdoses in fentanyl. And so the reason it's happening is because they can buy it online from China and then just lace it. And it just takes very, very little. And so I hope, that we just, tell our kids, you can't take that because there could be something very bad in it. The newest thing is there's Nar-Anon for families and friends in Pacifica. And this is to help with anybody who has family or kids who are using drugs and they need extra support. And it's at St. Peter's Church every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. And I think that's all I have.
Perfect. I will just tell about one meeting I went to yesterday, which was the police chiefs and superintendents in the North County all met over in the emergency command room at the Pacifica Police Department. We do it twice a year, and the purpose is just to make sure that when the emergency comes, that we'll all be able to communicate. They did, just very briefly, the San Bruno superintendent and police chief just gave some feedback around their incident that they had where they had a suspicious package delivered and how hazmat came in and the communication that went on there, and they had a place to another school site where they could move the students on and the communication. So we do that about twice a year, and it's really very reassuring to be a part of that group.
Presentations. We're going to do the presentation resolution number 2019-03-27, A through H. Appreciation for the parent volunteers in Pacifica Education Foundation. Heather?
Okay, so I'm just looking for Ortega. Patrick wanted to go first with Ortega. Patrick is starting his paternity leave tomorrow, and so this will probably be his final action as a current.
Actually, I'm going to our Soul Shop presentation after this.
Oh, okay, good.
Which we have due to the fundraising efforts of our PTO as well, so it's exciting. So, it's our resolution for Ortega Elementary School parent groups. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas the Ortega Elementary School Parent Council, CPAC, and PTO parent volunteers have been a treasured, supportive, and invaluable volunteer base for the Ortega Elementary School site, always recognizing that it is all about the children, and whereas the parent volunteers of Ortega Elementary School have brought a wealth of experience, energy, and excitement to the benefit of the Ortega school site by contributing their time and efforts to provide a warm, welcoming, and professionally rewarding atmosphere for the teachers and staff of the school, and whereas the parents have given liberally of their volunteer time and effort, always putting in a good deal of their own personality into every volunteer effort, and whereas each member of these vital groups has worked tirelessly when asked to raise monies to provide the vital supplemental programs needed for the school site, and oftentimes raising money to provide for the basic needs of the school. And whereas the parent groups of Ortega Elementary School have exhibited incredible and tireless effort in working together with other parents at the site and the other parent groups district-wide. And whereas the Ortega Elementary School Parent Council, CPAC, and PTO parent groups have worked so very well together, recognizing their similarities and differences in their capacity as volunteers and parents. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District recognizes Ortega Elementary School parent volunteer groups for their many contributions to the students and families of the district. And further, be it resolved that the board hereby extends its heartfelt appreciation to the Ortega Elementary School Parent Council, CPAC, and PTO on behalf of the community, staff, and most importantly, the students of the district.
Thank you. It's me because everyone else is at Soul Shop.
Just as a point of note, I think we are handing off the copy because we're going to have all of the signatures and then we will return it when all 5 of us get a chance to sign. All 5 of you. I think that PEF is up next, but I'm going to skip PEF because I don't see PEF members in the audience quite yet. So how about Velma? Or if it's, do you have a paragraph that is unique to Velma? Okay. give us.
I have a PTO that's unique.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Just give us the strongest paragraph you have there.
So, on behalf of Valimar, I'd like to thank the PTO, our parent council rep, our CPAC rep, our ELAC rep, all of the reps that help us out. I won't read through the resolution because it's pretty much identical to Ortega's, but we're very appreciative of all those groups and how they support our students. Just this past weekend, we had our spring auction, 123 Glow, and Charlotte was there heading that up with her beautiful hair. And it was just a nice night, and it really, just everybody had a smile on their face. We were all there for the kids. We really raised a great deal of money, and it just felt very special, and I feel very lucky to be at Valimar with such a great community. So thank you, Charlotte, and all the parents. So thank you.
The Ridge?
So our resolution is up there, and I would, I'm going to say the same thing that Monica said, that our PTO and our Latino parent group and our ELAC and our DLAC committee and a ton of other groups do a lot to support our kids at our school. We have a family reading night, a family math night. We do digital citizenship. We're getting ready for our big pancake breakfast extravaganza, and so everybody is working super hard to make sure that this Saturday will be a great event. We'd also like to invite you all to come, so make sure you come and visit. And I just want to thank the whole community for supporting our kids and making a difference in their lives. So thank you very much. Thank you, Amy.
Sorry, we did Ortega, Ocean Shore.
The shore.
Yeah, the shore, exactly.
We're getting a little casual, aren't we?
The ridge, the shore.
So I, too, have something very similar. There's one portion I'll read and just expand upon a bit, that the Ocean Shore School Parent-Teacher Organization, including groups such as the Diversity Leadership Group, Garden Coordinators, a new safety team, representatives to all district communities, including Parent Council, CPAC, that they really help to oversee, to help manage all of the Ocean Shore classrooms, special activities, and enrichment, have worked together recognizing their common goal of experiential learning and a well-rounded education in their capacity as volunteers and parents. There's truly an army that leads alongside in true partnership with the teachers, and it's that partnership piece that I really wish to highlight because it has been such an honor to be, first of all, welcomed into that community with open arms, led by the leadership of our dynamic duo, Amber and Michelle, but also the way in which the respect they have for our teachers and staff, knowing that they are hand in hand moving forward with our students, looking to the needs of each of our children to really celebrate their differences and provide them with opportunities that are enriching. So their commitment around the clock, it's tireless, but it's truly a family, and that family is really built on that partnership between home and school, and that really rests in their vibrancy. So it's truly an honor to be part of them, and we are very grateful for their leadership. Thank you.
Lindemar Educational Center.
Okay, so Lindemar Educational Center is a little bit unique. We're a very small school, so we don't have a PTO, but we do have a family outreach liaison, Lynette Lazar, and Lynette has dedicated countless hours to help provide meaningful resources and support to all of our families. She's very passionate about inclusion and has helped strengthen our efforts district-wide. She's helped develop surveys and flyers to try to get parent input and to always incorporate parent input as part of our decision-making process, which has been really valuable to us. She also helps plan our CPAC meetings, and she always attends our CPAC meetings, which we're very thankful for. And we're just very, very lucky to have her and all of our parent volunteers at LMEC. So we couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you.
IBL, Ingrid Bieberstein.
Sure. So with me is Tiffany Hanna, our PTO president. The resolution is very similar to what everybody else says. I'm not going to read all the whereases because I don't know if anybody knows what the whereas means. But I just want to say I've been doing this job a long time. I've been in education for almost 25 years and been as a parent and a volunteer at schools. And I just feel blessed to be in this community and working with the parent community, Ingrid B. Lacey. Middle school is different than the elementary school, and it's very difficult to bring people in. They've given their heart and soul through K through 5, and it's very difficult to sustain that when they come to the middle grades. But we have a dynamic force of parents that are truly dedicated to the betterment of their children and all children's education in our district, especially at our school. And so I really want to thank them for all the time, effort, and energy they've put into a multitude of things. Without them, we wouldn't be able to engage in these large-scale field trips for all of our school. They help provide funding for the buses that take our kids to the Rosicrucian Art Museum and the Asian Art Museum and the Exploratorium tomorrow, where Tiffany's actually volunteering her time to help chaperone 190 kids. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with all the parents in our school community, and I always give them thanks. It just feels like a great family that we have at Ingrid B. Lacey with the parent community that we work with, and they're tireless, their dedication. It really, they're so much more deserving of the resolution only because of all the effort that they put out every single day for our kids. And thank you very much, Tiffany, for all that you do and all the parents do in our community.
Mr. Stafford, Cabrillo School.
So mine is very similar to theirs, but I do want to bring up one thing. A perfect example of where our PTO and our teachers and our children come together was the Poetry Cafe last night. I sat through 3 different poetry cafes. I enjoyed every minute of listening to the students present their poetry, but in addition to that, it was also an art gallery where the students presented art that they had done, both inspired art from famous artists and also just art that they created themselves based on their own imagination. The poems were everything from reflecting on a banana to a child expressing his heartfelt love for his mother. And so all of that came out last night, which could not happen at our schools without our volunteers, our PTO, and all of the funds that they raise, making sure that we have all the supplies that we need. When I first came to Guerrillo 7 years ago, they were paying for some positions even in the district. We've been able to move away from that, but what I did do is I said, I'll trade you things for people in some of my site funds, and as we did that, the PTO was like, perfect, we're sustainable that way, we're able to help and still have that foundation that the kids need. And the bottom line is, it is all about children throughout this district, and that is what makes it wonderful to work in this district. And thank you to Angelique, who is our PTO president this year. She is a full-time educator herself, so she comes and volunteers, and she's our PTO president. And we talk all the time, and so it's wonderful to have worked with the past 7 years that I've been there. Every PTO, a different personality, but amazing people, because their best intentions are right there and out front. We're going to support the kids and our schools and make them great places to be. Thank you.
I'm going to present to Pep if I can without an injury. So I will just read off a few of the highlights, but Pacifica Education Foundation is a small but mighty group of all volunteers that fundraise for district purposes and give music and poetry to all students in our district. So I would just like to say that whereas each member of the foundation has worked tirelessly to provide additional funding to ensure all children of Pacifica receive a quality education that the state of California underfunds, such as computer science, using technology as a learning tool, spark poetry and 3rd through 5th grade music and 6th through 8th grade band, and professional development for science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District recognize the Pacifica Education Foundation for their many contributions to students and families. And further, be it resolved that the board hereby extends its heartfelt appreciation of the Pacifica Education Foundation on behalf of the community, staff, and as Tom said, most importantly, the students benefit from that. So thank you very much. To everyone in this room, I just from the very bottom of my heart want to thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our students. This is, school districts are good people that come together to do great things for kids, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this. So thank you very much. I think we have to vote for those, right?
And I just want to thank everybody also, because there's no way we could do it without everybody. And I know that there's some of you who are probably volunteering 10 hours, 15 hours a week. So thank you.
Yeah, we've all either been parents or are currently parents in the district, so we know the value and the time and the effort that goes into this. And I know myself as a parent, I started doing it for my kids, and it quickly, all the kids become your kids. And I also want to take a moment to thank our administrators, because our PTOs would not be successful if our administrators weren't so open and willing to collaborate and to give up a little bit of that control to allow all of our parents to be so active. So thank you to you too.
All right, so we need to vote on the resolutions. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move
Second?
resolution.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I'll third.
Board
Passes 4-0, thank you.
All right, now we are moving on to district goals. The
Excuse
district
me.
values the goals provided in our Local Control Accountability Plan, or LCAP, and strategic plan. All of our district board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more of the goals are listed in the description of each board agenda item. The details for each of these district goals can be assessed on our agenda online public page or by visiting the district website, www.pacificasd.org, under District Information Board of Trustees.
Excuse me,
Yes.
President Villalobos? I was just going to ask if we wanted to let people
Thank you for
go.
coming.
Without feeling like they had to sneak out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you, Kathy. 11A, adoption of resolution number 2019-03-27, endorsing April as Global Autism Awareness Month, LCAP goal number 3. And Maria?
Yes, well, I was kind of hoping more people would stay because this is the last resolution, but I know we'll find a way to get the message out anyway. I just want to bring to your attention that April is going to be Global Autism Awareness Month. And I was really excited to read the word global because it wasn't so long ago that it was day and week and local, and now it's all around the world that we're striving to bring awareness and educate all individuals about this very fascinating condition. And I've been in special education for over 20 years, and I've always been really intrigued by individual students, children, little children, older children, young adults who fall somewhere on the autism spectrum disorder. And I had a quote put in that memo for you that said by a researcher in the field that said, and his quote is, "If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism." And that says it all. And each and every individual is fascinating. So I really want to work, with you and everyone in the district to just kind of bring this up to everyone's attention. Down at the bottom there of the memo, I list some of the very easy things that we all can do to call attention to the condition during the month of April. Blue is the official color, so we can wear blue things, or we can look for landmarks in the community that are highlighted with blue lights, and share with the person next to us what that means. And just being researchers ourselves and finding out more information. And I do have a little something for you from me personally that you can have and to wear for the month of April, which hasn't arrived yet. When it arrives, I'll make sure that you get it, so you can have something blue for yourselves as well. Lastly, I want to say that since I've been here, since July now, and I've come to know very, very closely the kind of work that our special educators do with all our children with special needs, but especially children on the spectrum. And you should be very proud for the way that they serve all of our kids. And so if you happen to be out and about in the schools in the month of April, if you could make sure to pop in and just say hello or thank you to them, that would be really meaningful to them. So thank you. Any questions?
Are we going to be highlighting this at the school sites?
After today, I'm going to go ahead and push the information out to all the principals and all the special educators and any other ways that we think we would want to promote it.
Because even just this section with the bullet would be great to just have up.
Just a little blurb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Can do that, definitely.
Thank you.
I think that is a.
So,
Are we going to?
it is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopts resolution number 2019-03-27-1, endorsing April as Global Autism Awareness Month. We have a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Board passes 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is approval of an appointment of Workforce Housing Committee, and I think Laverne has the package of applications. Oh, so each of you
Yeah, we all
have
have.
packages of applications.
Did you not get one?
Here we go, I have my own right here. So we have a good problem in that we have more applicants than we had spots. What we originally had said is that we were looking for one parent and one community member not connected to our school district. So let me make sure I have this correct. Ms. Balmas's application was sent in within time. It wasn't uploaded to the website, but we have copies of that here. Someone should want that. But she did meet the deadline, so we're going to add that to the file. So the parents are Mr. Matthew Levy, number 1. Number 3, Mr. Levy is currently a Valimar parent. Lorinda Brennan is a Ortega parent. And Patricia Balmas is an Ocean Shore parent. As you'll notice, we took off all of the identifying information or connection to the. So we would want to select one person from those 3 applicants.
Did you say one?
So what we had said originally was that we were looking for one parent and one community member. We have 4 qualified applicants.
So, my comments on Matt, of course, I know him from when he was a school trustee, and he was very involved at the very beginning of our journey towards workforce housing. So he comes with a lot of history and a lot of sort of basic knowledge. I did reach out to him because he had a note on here talking about if he would be able to actually attend meetings. So at first I thought, well, you know, you can't attend, that sort of means you can't attend. But when I reached out to him, he said that he did feel fairly confident he would be able to attend. You know, I did say it's not every week, it's a few times. So I do think that with his knowledge of the background, he would be a very good fit. I do also know Patricia, having been at Ocean Shore, and she does come with a very strong fiscal background, and she has been in the district for 14 or 15 years. So she does have a lot of history with the district. So those are my 2 bits of information I can share.
So I know Matt, but not incredibly well. I think the one application that stood out to me out of all 4 of these was Todd Clater. And that's just because he has a 30-year career in, you know, managing, planning, financing, design.
But he would come under community.
So I'm not sure, is he just community?
Yeah.
So we're only
Yeah.
talking about 1, 3, and 4? And
Right.
the
Right.
and that's- okay.
So Mr. Clater is
Yeah, I agree
a
with you, though.
community member and did have children in our schools, but
Okay.
no longer has
Yeah.
children in our schools.
Gotcha, okay, so that's why it says other.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's between
No, I agree with you, though. He has a lot of great background.
these 3. To tell you the truth, I mean, I was, for me, it was 1 and 4, which is Matt and Patricia, were the ones that really stood out. Nothing wrong with Lorinda, it just seemed a little further out in that her background was being on the board of a wildlife museum, right? So we're trying to choose one out of these 3, huh?
Right.
That's the deal? Are we supposed to vote after we deliberate?
So, could we choose 2?
That really truly is your decision. Just know that probably LSEA would also ask for additional members on the committee. I'm not saying that it should, it's a great problem to have people that are interested, and we want to maximize that.
Yeah, but you don't want the committee to be too big.
To be too
Yeah,
large.
exactly.
Correct.
Well, what is its size at this point?
Well, actually, we're going to talk about that. So LSEA will have a member, CSEA will have a member. One of the things I'd like to discuss, should Laguna Salada Management Association have a member? We don't currently, but if we think that is good representation. And then we have 2 board members, Kathy and Elizabeth, and then the rest are staff. So mostly Josie and I on staff. So,
And then the consultants.
and then the consultants. So I believe that there is room to make that committee the size that we want.
So, you were very informative on committees. You said 6 is
I
good.
think 7 is like kind of the maximum.
7.
That's my opinion, my read of it. It's harder to get consensus after you pass 7.
So having one from each of these would make it 7.
That would be, and then the board members.
Right.
So, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, it's getting pretty large.
Well, I'd just like to make a note about Matthew Levy. He was at the very beginning of the workforce housing. And it wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 months ago that all the board members started getting all the information that we needed. And so I feel like he could be an integral part for filling in any of those blanks that we didn't know about for like a year.
I probably know Matt best of anybody that has submitted their application. And, it's not just that historically he was there in the beginning and that's why he should be on the committee, but it was highly in his interest. It was something that he worked on, ran on, talked about, pushed, when he was on the school board. So it is a passion of his. So, I wouldn't go for him, like I wouldn't say we need the person that started it, but we do need people that are passionate about it. And we've seen him at meetings and he's come up and he's said that he is still passionate about this.
So should we have a motion to,
That would,
Do we need any more discussion, or should we just go down the line on who you would like to choose and then see how many tallies each person has? Okay,
I'll keep track.
I'll start. I would vote for Matt.
Yeah, I would vote for Matt as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
And Todd, because Todd would be the community member.
So I'll actually walk us through all the others.
Okay.
Todd is the one community member. I hope you'll accept his application as the community
Yes.
member. So, yes. Then in terms of LSEA, would like Natalie Avenante. You know Natalie because she has spoke from the podium around workforce housing, and she also is passionate about workforce housing. The candidate from CSEA is Mark Clausen. He works in the maintenance department and is interested in being a part of the committee. The one that we haven't talked about is I think if we're concerned about size of the committee, then maybe we don't have a person from, the purpose for this committee is to give some input. It's an advisory board, but really it's communication. It's helping get the word out. It's helping, drive this forward. And so the question is, should Laguna Salada Management Association be represented on this category? It does build the size of that. Our administrators are in many ways very busy, but I just would ask the board what their thoughts are on that.
Well, I assume that, I'm sorry, I assume that you also are updating the principals.
Correct.
I mean, my feeling is I hate to saddle them with yet another committee. I mean, if they have a representative who's interested in serving, I would think that, we could welcome that, but.
I would think that anybody whose mini constituency would be entitled to workforce housing should be represented on the committee.
Great.
Right? So I think, we should, of course, there's a trade-off to make it more representative and make it larger, but I would err, at least if it's just one more person, I would err in that direction.
And so with that being the case, we would put forward Lori Miller, who is the coordinator of food service. I sometimes get her title wrong. Child Nutrition Services. And in many ways, we feel like that's a little bit of a twofer. So she would represent the administrators. Oh, actually, it's a threefer. Represent the administrators and get the information out. Number two, she has a very close good working relationship with a number of food service people who are also classified employees. And the third part to that is that she lives in the back of the valley. And so I think she would bring a lot to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the one thing that I would like to just check on with our representative from CSEA is when we had our first, our big meeting, when we were first looking at kicking off our workforce housing, Mark is the person one of the people that came and was very strongly spoke against the workforce housing at that time. And I think primarily his concern was that he had a business that was working out using the Odstad facility. So I think he had some concerns about how that was going to impact it. So my question is, I mean, he's been here for many meetings and been very involved, but my question is, does that present sort of a
Conflict of interest.
a conflict of interest in him serving on this committee?
Right.
So
that actually was what I brought up with CSEA, and
Okay.
they too were aware of that. However, we're also aware that the eviction notice for his business in Odstad, he received one in January. He also will receive one this week. So that business relationship with the district is coming to an end.
Okay.
And if we were in the situation where we wouldn't be building the workforce housing, we still are evicting the tenants with the thought that as could be a revenue producing building, and that we may go for more commercial sized rates for that. So while he is currently a tenant, I think that we'll be building this for some period of time, and I think that that's a very kind of manageable piece from the eviction having already been delivered.
Okay.
So I think it's safe. I have shared my concerns with CSEA, but
Okay.
are there any other concerns, or would you feel comfortable knowing that information, that it was a...
I think it is a little concerning,
Okay.
just because of, that he has a business, or had a business, I don't know where he's going. So it is a little concerning. But it is CSEA who is requesting that he be there.
And frankly, they had a hard time getting someone that was interested in being a part of that, but he also is interested as a construction expert, and so I think what I'm hearing from you is that there is some concern that there's a conflict around his business. I'm trying to think about how to mitigate that.
But his business is no longer going to be one of our tenants.
So
Correct.
it will be a tenant through the end of June, but he has received 2 eviction notice, and so even if we don't build it, that business relationship part would be coming to an end. So that's where I felt in my conversation with CSEA that there was some room for this to be a working function, with the understanding that we're all there with the interest of trying to move that workforce housing ball forward.
So we don't have similar information on these.
We
on these
don't,
appointments. So
actually.
that's the problem, because I would just like to know what his motivation is. Like even, this isn't a huge form, but
Right.
even, this gives us some information of where these people are coming from and why they think
Okay.
they would be good. It's just, it's a little strange, somebody who was vocally opposed and is being evicted and wants to be involved in what happens afterwards. I mean, I just don't know one way or another. I don't have enough information to
Okay.
provide my own opinion, an informed opinion.
The other question is CSEA is having trouble finding other people. But do we just keep it open and see if somebody else would apply, or do we?
Well, did he really want to do this? I mean, or was he the short straw, so.
Well, if I look at who's been in our audience, he's been in our audience more than others have been, and I believe that he's in a leadership position in CSEA, and so I think that was feeling as though wanting to represent CSEA in that way. I would recommend is that we, with this particular person, we can make a decision whether to delay or move forward, but I think for the committee in general, we'd like to meet next week, and so a delay of another meeting to get you more information we don't want to necessarily stop the whole committee from that, but would it be okay with you if I went back to CSEA and said, could we please have some more information about what his interest is in being a part of the committee? I could gather it for both LSEA, I could gather it for the LSMA, the administrator, I could gather it for the teacher, and that would just round out our information that we have about people.
I don't really object to even have somebody on the committee that may be a little bit of a devil's advocate, because it's always nice to hear all sides, and one person doesn't make all the decisions, and that's why you have a committee. But, I mean, sometimes you get a little derailed by people who are coming with bad intentions, but if he volunteered to be on this committee, he probably doesn't have bad intentions, but if he has other opinions, it really is nice to get as much information as you can, instead of everybody just being a yes person.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, but then on the other hand, it's CSEA that is putting him forward. And to me, it just seems like you would pick somebody who is supportive of the project from the beginning.
But I don't think that they have a pool of people to pick from.
But let me actually tell you about a conversation I had with Jerry Newland, who is our president, and she said she absolutely understands that he has come out against it, but that his role in this particular committee would be to represent his constituency, which is CSEA and the CSEA employees, that it wasn't his opinion, it was what best met the needs, and that was a very clear conversation that Jerry and I had, and I trust her on that, that if it didn't go that way, that she would relook at that.
And they certainly need a voice on the committee.
Absolutely,
Yes.
they need a voice, and I agree with you, Andrea, to a certain degree. It's like it is, we don't just want all people that say yes, yes, yes. As much as we want to take it across the line, we would be foolish not to consider all employees in all parts of that. And so I would recommend that we go forward. I can certainly get you more information for the next meeting in terms of why and what people's, and that will help us build build the team and get to know each other in that way, and I'll have a little bit more information. If you felt comfortable approving that piece, we would like to meet next Wednesday, and so we're typically going to meet the first Wednesday of the month. 3:30 to 5 o'clock tends to be that sweet spot where employees and consultants can come in and do that. The other thing I'm going to ask you for is is not a part of this one, but when we come to future board items, is I believe that it's really important that the board get some more information from Armando Sanchez, and so I would ask you for a work. So one of the many dates I'll be asking for on that, and I think the committee would also be a part of this. What we have to remember with the committee is they're an advisory committee. They're going to
Right.
give input, they're going to, but for a short period of time, we have to catch them up, just in terms of this is many years' worth of work, so.
And if I can, I just want to clarify, my concerns around Mark were not his intentions on the committee going forward. I just really wanted to clarify, because of the past history, that didn't put having him on the committee going forward a conflict of interest. And I do feel like, he was just advocating for his business and his position at the time. So I don't fault him for voicing, opposition or concerns about it at the time, because it was directly affecting him. So, but I also know he's been a valuable employee of the district for many, many years. And I don't feel that there would be any kind of ill intent. It's just my personal opinion, but I don't feel like there would be ill intent on his part serving going forward.
I think you did have to bring that up, though, because of the connection. And anytime there's a relationship
Right.
that has to do with business or money and relationships. I didn't, Jerry, she's very honest and forward, and so I think, I would trust her as well. Does anybody feel like they need more information?
I'm fine.
Okay, so let me go back to my notes that ask me what to do. So the board, so the guidelines developed around this committee are guided by Board Bylaw 9130 board committees. It will be an open meeting, which means that for a Wednesday meeting, the agenda goes up on Friday. Our presenters are currently working on their presentations. We hope to get those attached to the presentation. Anyone can come to the meeting. We have to hold it as an open meeting. And we will take minutes and also post those minutes just as a part of doing business. So it's recommended that the board establish and appoint the 2 community members, and the 2 community members are Matthew Levy or Levy? Levy, Matthew Levy, and who is a parent, and the other is Todd Clater, who is a community member.
So do we need a motion?
So do we have a motion to approve the 2 members? A second? And all those in favor?
Board passes 4-0. Thank you.
The last item is around future agenda items, and we're going to spend just a little bit more time on this than we usually do. First of all, I have received 2 requests, one from Eric Rashames, who is on the library board, and he would like to make a presentation on the library, and but he said that's not time sensitive, that this is not something that has to be done in the spring. It's important information as they're looking at doing something different with their libraries, but he said that this could be something that we could do at a time that we weren't so busy. The other request that I received is from Gordon Tanura, from Pacifica Resource. He's on the board of Pacifica Resource Center, and they have recently built a strategic plan, and they would like to share that with us. I think also, A, to get the information out there, and B, to make connections with the schools. I think that's an important piece, and I've asked them to present to our principals on June 12th or June 13th, so that we can start to think about getting ready for next year. That one is probably a little bit more time sensitive, but may not have to be done until June or a little bit later. So your thoughts on scheduling those?
Do we know the length of the presentations?
both said about 20 minutes. However,
That's an awfully long
I was going to say, the people over there at that table know that I like the presentations to be about 10 minutes. And, 10 minutes with maybe 5 minutes for questions. Only we would be able to ask questions because the audience can't ask questions in a board. So there are two ways to do it. Is one would be presenting to the board as a part of the board meeting. It would be agendized. Their presentation would come in beforehand and we would post it. Another way that sometimes school districts do is have them present at the public comment time. While we have the 3-minute limit, you can set the limit for any period of time. You could say we're going to have 10 minutes for a public comment. Now everybody who speaks at that time gets the whole 10 minutes. You can't say 10 minutes for you and 3 minutes for you. So the question is, do we want to agendize it as part of the board, or do we want to do it?
That seems like there's a little more control there if we agendize it.
It'd be a very, very long meeting if you put it in the public comment and everybody wants 20 minutes.
Right, exactly.
Even 10 minutes.
Right.
I feel like we have workforce housing that needs to be prioritized, and also facilities. What else do we have? So maybe, it's already April, it's gonna be April already.
Is the June meeting after the approval of the LCAP, is that typically a long meeting, or is that? The closer we get toward the end of the year, the longer the meetings are.
So,
We could also say August for both of them. One could be August, the first August meeting, and the other one could be the second August meeting.
that
Yeah.
might be good, because it just seems to me that towards the end of the year, we do sort of snowball, and the beginning of the year, it's usually sort of getting back up to speed, so it doesn't feel like it's as heavy at the start of the year, so.
I'm kind of curious what the Pacifica Resource Center, what that's going to be all about.
Uh-huh.
I have a better idea in my head what the library is going to be about.
Well, the
but-
other reason too why the Pacific Resource Center is interesting to me is that at some point, we need to do a strategic plan or
Yeah.
a redo of our strategic plan, and it may help us kind of get that set around that, so.
Another thing we could do is one now, or in the next month or two, and then one in August. The only, with the resource center is they do have resources for our kids over the summertime.
Yeah.
So that might be another option, is one now and one later.
So if we waited till June, that would be kind of too late
Yeah.
to.
Right, okay.
to get to-
And I think the library, it's really just to sort of keep the library project rolling. So they want to just kind of keep putting it out there. So I would think that could probably be in the fall.
I will actually, because we have the opportunity to look at, if you look at April 24th, I think that there may be room in that April 24th for the Pacifica Resource Center to be, because earlier is better, and if we want to get resources to families, we definitely want to do that earlier. Okay, so those two, I will put those, contact those two people. And then the other, so we have two probably special board meetings that we need to plan. One is, I believe that Armando Sanchez is going to be very helpful to us in terms of, we all left CSBA feeling hopeful, and I believe that with the assistance of Armando Sanchez, we will feel better about that. So are you available on Wednesday, May 1st? For a board work study? 6 to 8. Everybody in town? Okay. And then I have been dragging my feet on scheduling this, but at some point we are going to have to schedule a special meeting to replace trustee Andrea Gould. And
I
so.
will not schedule that meeting.
There'll be two people here.
Exactly.
We need a quorum.
So the challenge is that when we do that, then that person becomes a board member right away. So Andrea's going to be here through the summer, but she's also going to be busy selling her house. And what I've heard from folks is that we need to do it while people are still in the city of Pacifica. So July would be too late. So the question is June 19th too late? Have people left for vacation? School has been out at that point for about 10 days.
Well, some people will, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel too like it doesn't need to be rushed,
Okay.
just because we want to make sure that there's somebody, qualified and who wants to be there. That's just my feeling. I mean, because we won't, usually, typically, we don't have a meeting in July, and we come back early August, and there'd still be 4 of us, so that, 3 could still be here for a quorum. That's just my feeling, is that I feel like it doesn't need to be rushed, to get somebody in there. And
So you
maybe-
don't feel like there's enough time between now and June? Is that what you're?
Maybe not. But just, making sure that we have a good pool of candidates in there to choose from. I mean, I'm not gonna say, but what if there's just one person there? Are we gonna take just that one person to fill Andrea's seat?
I don't know that there's gonna be more people the longer that you wait for them to
Right.
fill their application. There's gonna need to be a little outreach. It used to be a rule that if you were not gonna run for reelection, you had to find, who was gonna take your place, but
Oh, I like that.
it was an unwritten rule. But, so you should always keep in mind, if you're not planning on running for reelection, who you want to take your place.
That's the only problem, I think, with not doing it before the summer, is the summer, people are checked out. So how do you do
Nice.
outreach over the summer?
I think
To a point
doing
in
it at the end of-
August.
I think doing it at the end, before the end of the school year would be, getting the application process going in April or May would, you'll get some people.
We actually, believe it or not, already received a letter from somebody with some interest, and I said,
Good.
well, she hasn't resigned yet. Just from the standpoint
Put the cart before the
of,
horse.
when she resigns, we have to pick someone within 60 days. And so that's
Right.
why that resignation hasn't been tendered yet. I do think that while we could go along with 4 people, then, one person gets sick, or, someone has a family emergency, it really does limit us. And while we always hope that things are quiet during the summer, you never do know. And I think the other piece is that there's gonna be a fair amount of onboarding that we want to do with this person. So that'll be all of you going out to coffee with them, and just making sure that they know what they're signing up for. So, could we have a meeting on the 19th of June? Is everyone around
I am.
to do
So
this
are we
one?
talking about actually on the June 19th of
Interviewing.
interviewing the applicants?
The-
So you probably, Andrea, would not be involved in interviewing the applicants.
Okay.
So June 19th.
It's a Wednesday. We also could do it on the 12th.
When is the board meeting's on the 5th, right?
But yeah, board meeting's on the 5th, and it was not knowing where we are with workforce housing and that timing. My interest is in maximizing, you have the most knowledge about that, and for a person to step into that role and have to be
Yeah,
a
that's too
decision making,
much.
that would be a really hard situation, so.
What time is this?
We could do it any time during that day, but it could be an evening meeting, it could be a daytime meeting. So in my previous, we already have one person that's interested. People typically are interested in appointments as opposed to running for
Right.
election, so you might get a slightly bigger pool. The day that I handed in my application to be the superintendent of Pacifica, we interviewed 19 people for a position in San Mateo Foster City. So
That day?
What's that?
That day?
That night, yeah, that night we did the interviews for that, so. So there is going to be interest, I think, and I think it's our job to get out there and talk to the people that we know and think about what is not sitting at this table and what other voices do we need to have on that, so.
So when's the last day of school again? Is
Last
that-
day of school is the 7th,
Okay.
Friday the 7th.
Yeah, so I'm out of town, that's why I was looking. Like June 20th to the 25th. So any,
This is before that.
So the 12th or the 19th?
12th or the 19th.
The 12th or the 19th,
So the
you'd
12th,
be
I
able
can
to
only do it
do?
at night. Or I have to be in Sacramento for the day, so I can be back for that. And I'm happy either one, the 19th, I'm all free. I can do it anytime.
19th, I'm free.
Either works for me,
Okay,
12th or
why don't-
19th.
Why don't we plan on the 19th, and it will be evening-ish. We'll see how many candidates we get and what the process will be with that. I'll work with Laverne and we'll come up with a process. We'll actually have to have a small subcommittee of developing the questions and developing that process. Have you done that in your work here, Kathy? Have you guys done an appointment in your time?
The last one was Eric,
The
wasn't
last one
it?
was Eric, yes.
And that was before my time.
So that was, nobody else was here but me, but, and you know who the other applicant was? Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Sweet. Okay, and then the other pieces, I'll check these dates too with Elizabeth.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on that was a little longer on the business. It's going to be a very busy couple months. So,
Why do I have a work study every week?
I know,
I
it's
know.
like if it's Wednesday, it's work
We're
study.
gonna be best friends.
Wednesday stands for work study. Okay, that being said, I believe we are at the
Let's just make sure, so we got the agenda and everything.
I think we are good.
All right, meeting adjourned at 8:24.